All right. Well, we are officially live. This is our first time being on YouTube live. Figure we'll try it out. Hopefully, this can reach some Jaguars fans. But we've got two out of three of the Jag Bros. I'm Jack, along with Joey and JT, the oldest Jag Bro, is in Cabo with his family and
And all the
many of
NFL players that aren't playing in the playoffs right now.
exactly. Yeah, I think he already ran into not Jared Goff. Jared Goff's still in it. Matthew Stafford,
Matthew Stafford.
the other former Lions quarterback. But we wanted to come and talk some Jaguars football. It's been a couple weeks since we've been on the podcast. We're going to talk about the big news. But Joey, it's been a little bit since we talked Jaguars. How you feeling about our Jags right now?
It's pretty crazy right now. A lot of accusations being thrown around on Twitter, X, a lot of different reports from different reporters on the dysfunction right now of the front office and the coaches. Trent Baalke wants to get rid of Press Taylor or not, and maybe Trent Baalke wants to step down. There's just a lot of questions being thrown around, a lot of accusations. It's kind of crazy. I don't know what to believe because none of these are really coming from like reputable sources. These are all kind of Twitter allegations and stuff like that. So I don't know what to believe. You know, Trent Baalke is talking to us tomorrow over the media, but knowing the Jaguars and especially Doug and Trent, they haven't really ever told the fans anything. We still don't know what ever happened to Hamilton during the preseason when he got hurt. They're
Good
like,
point.
well, it's some sort of back thing, but don't know what injury or why it happened or anything like that. We're kind of kept in the dark with this franchise. So, be interesting whether he answers anything or if the press kind of presses him.
Yeah, so that'll be tomorrow. It's been a while. He definitely took his sweet time before doing an end of season interview. Um,
I wonder
you-
if the Buffalo Bills general manager, you see, he had to take a press conference and he was on there for like 62 minutes just answering questions over questions. And like everyone praised him for doing that. So I feel like Trent probably saw that and was like, oh crap, I guess I have to do it too.
Hopefully, I don't know. Yeah, the Bills are. There's definitely a couple teams that are in a weird situation right now. Jaguars being one of them. Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, where that all those are teams I think missed out their expectations big time, but
Oh yeah.
also most of them haven't made too many big moves. The
Yeah.
Jaguars really the only team that made a move. So
Yeah, and the Eagles collapse is honestly bigger than ours. They were 10-1 going on to losing what was it, 6 out of 7 games the last counting the playoff. Like,
yep.
and I don't even remember the last time I've seen the Eagles go out in the first round. Granted, the Packers were really hot, but
Or
still.
no. Packers beat the Cowboys.
Oh
It
yeah,
was
that's right. That's right.
who beat
Was it the Lions that beat the Eagles?
oh
Yeah, I believe
man.
it's the Lions.
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah, it
to
was.
look
It
that
was.
up.
It was.
Okay.
But I mean, even still, you would think the Eagles, they just went to the Super Bowl last year, pretty much the exact
Yep.
same team almost.
Yeah, lost by a
Everyone
field
thought
goal in the
how
Super
good of
Bowl.
a draft class they had, and something happened that they're not really telling us about. The locker room just, I guess, fell apart. Same with the Jaguars, I believe, locker room. You could tell at the end of the season something was wrong. The players didn't want to play. Like, there's something wrong in this organization, and people are throwing out accusations. And I just want to know what's true.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to be on Jaguars Twitter or really anywhere on the Jaguars. They can post anything, right? I've seen all this stuff posted about Josh Allen on Jaguar stuff, and all the comments are fire Press Taylor, fire Trent Baalke,
Oh yeah.
which is that's the state of the Jaguars right now. But the big news is that we do have a new defensive coordinator. So we're gonna break it down in depth when JT's back. We're going to jump on a podcast episode all together, but just wanted to get our initial thoughts. Want to let you guys know as Jag fans who follow and connect with us on YouTube and on Twitter. hey, who is this guy? What does he do? Where's he from? And so I want to give a little bit of the background info here of where he's coached. And then, Joey, I want your thoughts. So this happened Monday, January 22nd. So this is about 48 hours later. But he's played primarily defensive line. So he played at USC. He's a big guy. I didn't realize that he's 6'5", 285.
Yeah,
So
he actually played D line. So
yeah,
like
for
that's why he
USC
coached it.
when USC was really good
Yeah.
too. It was right before their their championship run in the early 2000s. But he's coached at a lot of big time schools. Coached at USC, coached Ole Miss defensive line, coached there. Coached for a couple other different colleges. Northern Illinois, D line coach, and later co-defense coordinator. NC State, same thing, which they had a good defense in the 2010s. And then switched over to the NFL in 2017. So coach for the New Orleans Saints as their defensive line coach for 4 years, 2017 to 2020. Of course, Cameron Jordan was there, some good D-line guys. Then he actually took a job the next 2 years, got promoted for the Saints. He was assistant head coach in 2021 and then co-defensive coordinator for the Saints in 2022. And then this most recent season was a defensive coordinator for the Falcons. And now he is the defense coordinator for the Jags. So, Joey, what are your first thoughts on Ryan Nielsen?
Uh, I like the hire a lot. It it's nice to see that it seems like we really value young kind of people. We've got a lot of young coaches. Doug likes to have young people around him. It seems like when we go after free agents, we never kind of go after the old people. We always try to get younger, even if it means that they're, I guess, less talented sometimes. We go towards whether they're younger or not. I've seen Trent does
Mm-hmm.
that. We also seem to draft some of the younger players in the draft. So you can definitely see that they value that. And he was really sought after. I know a lot of other teams really wanted him. So I like that we kind of got him to Duval and then kept him there. I was tired of watching people come in for interviews, like when we had Clowney in, and yet we still let him walk out of the building. And now he had a tremendous year. And then we also watched Leonard Floyd walk out. It just felt like we kept bringing good people in, and then we'd let him walk. It didn't happen this time. We kept Ryan. He, we really needed help on the defensive line. It was one of my biggest pet peeves for the season, for the defense, watching us go from like a really good run defense to one of the worst run defenses, watching defensive line people just standing up and running into the offensive line and letting them block them. Like this is going to be really good for Roy Robertson Harrison. Hamilton can hopefully come back to what people were saying he was. Whether he actually is that or not, or after this injury, I don't know. I'm not going to throw him to the bus yet. I'm not even going to say Foley Fatakasi. I believe he needs to be off this team completely. He's been an
Yeah.
absolute disaster last 2 years. Everyone said it was because of injury the year before, but he was even worse this year. I just don't think he's got it. And then it's going to be huge for the development of Trayvon Walker and also Josh Allen. And that's another good thing is I think he'll go ahead and get Josh Allen signed because he's your best player on the
I hope
defense.
so.
You got to keep your best player. He's not going to come in here and be like, I don't want Josh Allen. Everyone
Oh,
wants
yeah.
Josh Allen. So he's going to make it like, hey, we were trying to shore up our line. We got to keep Josh Allen.
Yeah, I love that he's a defensive line guy because especially interior defensive line was a big issue for us.
Oh,
I mean, you had a ton of success out on the edge. Walker and Josh Allen both, combined were had the most sacks of two edge guys combined in the league. So that is a something for Nielsen to build on. But the interior defensive line is going to need a lot of work. We got
oh yeah.
ran over a lot on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 3rd and short, 4th and short. It was easy. All you had to do is run up the middle. Some of that's injuries for sure. Some of that's scheming. Some of that's coaching. So, I think one of the biggest changes that's going to happen that's also been talked a lot about, Twitter, other places, is going to be he's going to bring a lot more man coverage. So Falcons were, I believe, sixth or seventh in man coverage scheming wise versus the Jaguars 29th. So we ran a ton of zone, a bend but don't break. And Nielsen's going to bring that hyper aggression. He's going to bring a lot more man coverage. So cornerbacks are going to be more important on our team too. But
Oh yeah.
that's kind of what I'm seeing here. That's what I think will be some big changes is a very aggressive approach to defense, which we haven't had the last 2 years under Caldwell.
Definitely. And hopefully he can convince Trent Baalke finally not to draft another inside linebacker. We do
Yeah.
not need to draft another inside linebacker. Um, and you can also see the change. We went from everyone kind of mocking us, wide receiver, offensive line, to now everyone's switched it to we need to go get a man corner because we're not sure if our corners can play man. I did hear yesterday on some of the 1010 XL that Tyson Campbell actually did play a lot of man in college, and he hasn't had that much man in the NFL, so we don't know if he can honestly play man that well. I know a lot of people were thinking he can't, but maybe Ryan can actually, coach him and teach him and develop him to be a man guy. I think we do need to draft a really good corner man as well, because we do not have Trey Herndon on the squad right now, and
Mm-hmm.
Tyson's on his last year. Gregory Jr., I believe, is on his last year too. Uh, Darius Williams, like there's so many people on that defense that they're on their last year of their contract. So we're gonna have to shore up this defense quite a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go defense a lot in the draft or in free agency.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the draft. You and I have done some study already. I think we're 92 days away from the NFL draft, and we'll save some of the draft talk on the podcast with all three of us once we get closer. But hey, we're on here. There's just a few people. Maybe people will watch us later. If you have comments on here live, we'll address that too. So drop that in. But what are your thoughts in the draft with this new hire? Do you think the Jaguars are going to target defense earlier than they've done recently? And which would you say, if there was an equally good defensive tackle and an equally good cornerback, who would you take first?
You said defensive tackle or did you mean offense?
Defensive tackle.
Defensive
Yeah,
tackle.
yeah.
I mean, that's a really good question, because I do believe we will go defense earlier than we have been. I do think a little bit will also be when Ryan gets down to Duval, he'll evaluate kind of the players and
Yeah.
realize where we need the stuff. I do believe that they want to give Ryan everything he needs to succeed. And I believe that he's going to get a lot because I do really, really think they brought Ryan Nielsen in because he was considered possibly for head coaching positions. I don't
Hmm.
think if the offense doesn't perform this year, Press and Doug are out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that's kind of the thing. Like they're
And
bringing in
probably
Ryan as
bulky
the
too.
the defensive coordinator. They're going to give him everything, and if the defense performs and the offense doesn't, they're going to make Ryan the head coach. I really do believe that's why they went with a younger guy. That's why they went with someone who was sought after, and a lot of people are thinking could be a head coach. Um, I think that's the only thing that kind of makes sense on this hire. And that's do why I think they'll go defense in the draft to give him all the weapons he needs. And especially everyone has always said we need to give Trevor weapons. We need to give Trevor weapons. Well, Trevor got weapons last year. He
Yeah.
had Calvin Ridley. He had Christian Kirk. He had Zay Jones. He had Evan Ingram. It's one of the best wide receiver
Evan
cores.
Ingram has one of the best tight end years ever.
Exactly.
ETN, Tank.
Easily one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. You have a really good running back. Yes, the offensive line wasn't great. There was a lot of offensive lines this year that wasn't great. His play also wasn't great. And I think a huge thing is he's very seems clicky almost, or he only throws it to the wide receivers he wants to throw it to. I never saw him throw it to any of the rookies really, unless he absolutely had to. Like his chemistry with Ridley, I don't know if it's on Ridley or Trevor, but I kind of put it more on the quarterback as you need to go up to your wide receivers and be like, "Hey, we're gonna go throw the ball 10,000 times." I don't know if you saw the whole thing about Edelman and Tom Brady. Did you see that
Mm-mm.
video where
No.
Edelman was never supposed to be like a good wide receiver? Like he
Oh, of
didn't really have the
course.
talent, he didn't have the size or anything.
Like
But what he
5'8".
did is went everywhere Tom Brady was. If Tom Brady was like, "I'm going to the moon and I want to throw the football," Edelman would have been there. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what
Wes Welker too. Wes was not a
exactly.
big or athletic guy. Yeah.
Like you see that's the kind of like thing that Trevor has to learn. He's got to get with his wide receivers because he's got it with Kirk, he's got it with Zay Jones, and it's special when he's got it. But he's
Yeah.
got to make it with players that aren't his best friends. You got to go do it with Elijah Cooks. You got to do it with Parker Washington. You got to do it with Calvin Ridley. You got to do more. You got to get that chemistry. Um, and whether it is Calvin Ridley, maybe he didn't really want to be here. I don't really know, but that's what it seems like. So I don't really want to go wide receiver. He's got the weapons. You got to make it happen with what you got. We've been drafting offense for the last 2 years and we haven't hit. We need to go defense now.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see more defensive guys picked early. That's no question. I don't think we can do offense all three first round picks and expect our
Win.
defense to be anything.
Yeah.
So um
But yeah, to answer your question, I'd probably go cornerback first
I
because
would
it's
too.
to be
Yep.
the more splashier person. You can get a good D tackle in the second or third round, kind of like offensive line. You can get a really good offensive line in the second, third, even fourth round. But that premium, like as you will see, a ton of wide receivers will go in the first round. And
Yeah, this class is loaded.
who's gonna defend those people? The cornerback. So you're gonna need a splashy player at cornerback just to cover these new splashy wide receivers.
100%. Yeah, the guy I really like that I think will be available for the Jaguars at pick 17, maybe even trade down a couple spots, would be Terry Arnold, cornerback for Alabama. And I think cornerback too, because if you look at this draft, you and I, Joe, have done some mock drafts. A lot of Jaguars people are dropping their mock drafts on Twitter or X. This defensive tackle is really not so much stacked in the first round. We may only see one guy get drafted in the first round,
Yeah,
but
there
that
is only one
second to third,
projected.
yeah, that second to third round, there's going to be a lot of really good D tackles.
Oh yeah.
Byron Murphy, Sweat for Texas, both those guys from Texas. The Michigan, Jenkins, and who I'm forgetting another guy I really like, a D tackle. The Florida State guy, he's probably gonna go even later. Fisk at defensive tackle, he's probably more of
Yeah,
a
I've
third
seen a
and
lot
fourth
of
round.
people picking him. Um, there's a bunch of LSU guys as
Yep,
well.
Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor, Melky Wingo, and Jordan Jefferson, not the wide receiver, Jordan Jefferson. So yeah, there's a lot of good ones. My favorite actually D tackle is coming from Clemson, that Tyler Davis. He's projected
Oh
around
yeah,
the third round. He's a big guy who can rush, but he's really good at clogging up, the hole and being a good run stuffer. And I do believe that that's kind of where I would want a D tackle, is that late third, maybe use the compensatory third that we get
hmm
for Jawan Taylor on a D tackle.
Hey, Jaguars made headlines for our I can never say that word exactly right.
Compensation?
Conditional. Yeah, those
Uh,
conditional
yeah.
draft picks, compensatory or whatever you say. Uh,
Compensatory.
compensatory
Yeah.
draft picks because we had the longest drought. We had never had one since 2010.
Yeah. And then now
So
we have the biggest one. We have
we
the
have a
first.
third, yep, which is the highest you can have. You can't have a first or second
No, yeah.
conditional pick, and then another one, 6th round. So It's two additional
Yeah.
picks.
Arden Key, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, we'll take it. Oh, well,
But
good.
I
Well,
I
let me
would
look.
say, so you like Arnold better than you like Kool-Aid? Because I'm a Kool-Aid man myself. I've
Just
read
because you like the drink.
I do like to drink. I like the name. I think that would definitely bring a little bit of fandom to Jacksonville. And then also he's a better man guy than
Yes.
Arnold. A lot of people are saying I do think maybe Arnold is a little more athletic, but Kool-Aid's a little bit bigger than he is. He does man a little bit better, and that's what we need right now because we do have good zone corners, but we don't have a good real man corner. And I do think Kool-Aid would be maybe a little bit better for us. Plus, I just want a Kool-Aid jersey too.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's his first name, I guess, or nickname, whatever. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we'll do or McKinstry. Um, yeah, I'd be happy with that pick too. Uh, Terry and Arnold probably the splashier pick. He's made a lot more big plays for Alabama. He's younger, and I'd rather have that raw athleticism that you can teach and coach. But the other guy that's going to be up there, you're going to have Nate Wiggins, tall cornerback out of Clemson. He's very much a man corner. Um, I will tell you the one guy I don't like that I've seen a little bit more recently. In fact, Mel Kiper had him mocked to us in his first run.
Is it
Cooper
the Iowa
DeJean.
guy?
Yeah, could no, no.
Oh,
I'd be fine if we take him in the third round. He's not a first. He's a tweener of cornerback safety, which sometimes is great, but sometimes it also means you can't play either at an elite level. And I think he's more of that.
I would disagree on that. I mean the problem is no one knows what position he kind of plays
Right.
because what I heard is in high school he played every single position. He played quarterback at one point, wide receiver. Like he's just one of those freak athletes. I almost think he's like Christian McCaffrey, where he can run, he can catch. Like he's just one of those just freak athletes that it doesn't make sense that he's this good, but he is that good. And I don't believe it because I think Christian McCaffrey's one of a kind. I think it's would be difficult to become that, especially like the defensive side for of Christian McCaffrey. But it'd be a gamble, and it's not a gamble that I'd be willing to take. I'd rather take a more proven guy than a possible guy that could play almost any position on defense and who's just a freak athlete.
Couldn't agree more. I don't know that he's really a freak out. Yes, I mean, you could tell by the way he plays that he's played every position. I'll be curious to see what he runs at the combine because I think he's going to run a 4.5.
Yeah,
And
I don't mean freak athlete and like the Anthony Richardson-esque
right.
like freak athlete. I mean more like he's just so knowledgeable about football.
Yeah.
Someone asked him what's his favorite hobby, like what do you do when you're not playing football? And he literally said watching film and he like meant it. It wasn't like one of those, oh yeah, I just watch film. Like I think all he does is play like Madden, he watches football. Like all he does is eat, sleep, drink football. When you
Yeah.
have that type of mind, that's what I mean by like freak, like just with football in general. Like he knows exactly what every position should be. He knows where he needs to be. He can like read maybe a quarterback better than anyone else. It's that type of knowledge and freakness more than the athletic side of, oh, he's 6'6" or he can run a 4.2. Not that type of freak athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I actually have to wrap up here in a minute. If you have any other thoughts, do you want to give them, Joe, before we wrap up the YouTube live?
Uh, yeah, I did want to ask you a question. I know last off season, or maybe it was two off seasons ago, there was a discussion about bringing in someone to be kind of the buffer between Trent Baalke, Doug Peterson, and Shad Khan, and just another voice, a director of operations, and like a president for the organization. And I do think they actually may need that just to have a whole nother voice involved, because I do think they're both two kind of hard-headed guys that are very set in their own views. Trent Baalke very much has like what he thinks the Jaguars should be, and I think Doug, and I think there are overlapping parts, but there are definitely parts that are divergent. And I think they may need to bring in a third voice to kind of help mediate or bring them together to because this team needs to be together. It needs to be like the Lions are. You can tell
Right.
that that is one organization who has one view, one mindset, and they're moving forward. Like it feels like it's been planned out for years. They're drafting very well. They know what they want and they're performing it and they have this identity and they've kept this identity whereas the Jaguars have lost their identity. All last season, it was, we're a rundown organization. No one likes us. We're booed constantly. We're the joke of the NFL. No one's going to laugh at us anymore. And it felt like this year we totally lost that. We were constantly looking at, oh, we're almost the number one seed in the AFC. We're actually really good. We lost a few games, but don't count us out. Like we'll fix it. And like we just had this puffed up view of ourselves. We need to be humble. We need to be come back as a team. We aren't that team. We haven't done it. We haven't made it. We're not there yet. When I put on my Jaguar stuff in Texas, I get laughed at again. I hadn't been laughed at last
Yeah.
year, but this year for sure they're like, well, what did you expect? Jacksonville was going to lose it anyways. That's just the organization. That's what people think about us. We are still the joke of the NFL. You have
Yeah.
not changed the view. You have not changed that perception. If you want to do that, you have to do it for more than half of a season last year. Uh,
Yeah. The Cowboys are in a rough spot too, though.
oh yeah. So I
Um,
believe they need to bring in. Do you know who Dave Campo, the
yeah.
ex-coach, coach for the Cowboys and the Jaguars. He's on 1010XL a lot.
Yeah.
That's a voice you kind of need to bring into this front office to have another point of view to help connect Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson again, because we're not going to win if they're constantly fighting, if they're trying to get one over each other. Like we're going to need to bring in a third party. Do you like what do you think about that whole situation?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's what happens when you lose, right? Everyone's kind of, trying to play the blame game of, what went wrong. And so I think you're seeing Peterson point to Balky and vice versa. And so, yeah, I mean, potentially that's the solution. I think most Jags fans would say the solution's getting rid of Press Taylor, but
Yeah.
I think that ship has definitely sailed. And some would say get rid of Trent Baalke too, for sure. I think both those ships have sailed. You never know. Anything could change, but it looks like this is more or less the coaching staff with Nielsen going to bring in his guys for defense. I'm sure Doug will, of course, have a say, but I think you'll see some of those guys from his Falcons coaching staff come over. I'm sure he'll have a big say in the defense line. He may even coach the defensive line too.
Yeah, he's done
Uh,
that a few times.
yeah. So, maybe that's a solution. I think at this point, you're early enough in the offseason. If you find the right guy and you like him, then I say roll with it, pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, it can't hurt.
No, no. Yeah. I mean, it can't. I mean, this team is pretty disconnected, lack of unity all around. And so, I think what will also be interesting, I forgot to mention this, but a lot of people are talking about it too, is, whether or not this team will switch from a 3-4, which we've run for a while now, to a 4-3.
Yeah.
And we don't know yet. We haven't heard from Nielsen, but when they asked him about it for the Falcons, he said, I don't really think about it that way. So he'll actually run multiple defensive sets. So I think you will see 4-3. I think you'll see 3-4. You'll see a lot more variety than you did with Mike Caldwell, which speaks to, again, I think more draft, more free agency focus will go to defense because he'll need more personnel.
Yeah. I mean, it always surprised me a little bit that we were in a 3-4 for so long because our personnel matches a 4-3
Yeah.
way more. We
Yeah.
have Chad Muma, who we wasted was second or third round pick on, and he never sees the field practically unless Devin Lloyd's hurt or uh, his head's out of the game. And then we don't really have a nose tackle. Hamilton's
Right.
not really big enough, and Foley Fatukasi was kind of supposed to be, but They
He
always
did
put him
play
as a
well.
D tackle. So like we just didn't really have the personnel for a 3-4. It's much better. Trayvon Walker, we all know he's better with his hand in the dirt. Josh Allen, his rookie season had his hand in the dirt, and that's when
Yeah,
he
he
had
did
his
fine.
double digit sack season. And so like I do believe a 4-3 is like the personnel we have is more suited for a 4-3. Whether that's what the NFL runs anymore, like I think Ryan is the type of person, he doesn't care what anyone else thinks or whatever. He's going to run the play and formation that's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he said in an interview last year with the Falcons. He was like, I don't care. He's like, just stop the other team. That's
Yeah.
what the defense, it doesn't matter your formation. The other interesting story, I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know how much sway or if he wants to keep balling out, but a lot of people are talking about Calais Campbell because he went to the Falcons and just played there. So you never know. Maybe a potential homecoming for him. So he is 37. Seems like he wants to keep playing for a little bit longer. And hey, the Jaguars need a third pass rusher because we don't have. I don't think that's the answer, but it's definitely a popular opinion right now.
Yeah, I would love to get him, but not really for his contribution on the field, but more of his contribution that would bring to the locker room and to some of the young players. Someone who we don't really have someone who's been in the league for forever and
It's
who's done it
true.
successfully. Uh, we have a lot of young players, and even the free agents that we have brought in have always come from not the greatest teams. So like they don't have that like success that Calais Campbell really has had. And I think that voice of that leadership voice that he would bring and being able to possibly even do a little like coaching while playing type thing. Like, I think that would be more beneficial to this team than just his on-field contribution. I think he still can perform and he can kind of do what Smoot did, come in occasionally, get a sack. Just a handful of sacks would be awesome. But yeah, that leadership that he would bring would be even more important.
Yeah, he is. He's a leader. He had a big impact on Josh Allen when they were here the same time, and of course, um, Josh Allen speaks highly of him. Yeah, the defense is so young. We really
Yeah.
don't have many veteran presence. So any sort of veteran presence, even if it's not much field production, I think it'll help the young guys without a doubt. Josh Allen, as good as he was last year, still only 26. So
Definitely. And we're about to lose probably our biggest no, not biggest like person who's been on the
a
defense the
veteran.
longest, Rayshawn Jenkins will probably be a cap casualty moving on to Antonio Johnson, just making the team even younger. So we need to bring in some sort of older person who's done it, seen it, and can keep this team focused because you've seen in the last two seasons you lose focus. The first season we didn't have the focus at the beginning, got it at the end, played as a team, magical season.
Yeah.
This season, you had the focus at the beginning. Everyone felt the pressure, wanted to perform, prove everyone that we could do it. And then they felt like they had proven something and fell apart at the end when actually they hadn't proven anything because you've only done half of the season twice. You have not put together a full season. And what you need is people who have put together full seasons to teach these young people how to do that, how not to get fatigue or how to not get burnt out throughout the season.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully Ryan Nielsen, brings a big impact on our defense. Doug Peterson, of course, is fired up about it. He said earlier in a statement this week, we're excited to welcome Ryan and have him lead our defense moving forward. Said Ryan is an outstanding football coach, and his defense with the Falcons and Saints were always fundamentally sound, which Doug has talked about that a lot in both their physicality concepts. He has a rare ability to both teach and connect with his players. So players coach there says builds lasting two-way relationships predicated on trust, establishes accountability first from himself, then the players. What I've admired most about Ryan's defenses, and we saw this in London back in October, I was watching highlights today, was that they shared intensity and enthusiasm to get the job done and impact the game. So if he's half as good as that, our defense is going to get a lot better.
Definitely. And something that I see in him that I didn't see in our team last year is even when he doesn't have the best talent, he's going to have them performing at their best possibility. He's not going to lose because of miscommunications or beating himself. He will only lose because the other team may be better than the talent on the field. It's never like blown coverages. Like the Saints and the Falcons defense, if you remember, are always like they do the right thing. They're always right there.
Yep.
Now, maybe a
Fundamentals.
corner gets burnt because he's just physically not better than the other guy, but it's never
Yep.
because, oh, I thought I was supposed to cover him or I thought I was supposed to do like it's not miscommunication or people not knowing their assignments. He has them knowing their assignments. You do your right job, and that's something that our defense needed immensely because honestly, the offense needed it too because the amount of people who didn't know what they were doing, it just
Yeah.
speaks volume against the coaching.
Yep. Yeah. I think a lot of people would say the offense needs a new coordinator too, but
Yeah. But I
that's neither
really
here
do
nor there.
believe that Doug will be taking over. I don't think
He's gonna have
that
to. He's
Press
on the
is
hot
getting
seat
out of
too.
this scot-free. I think Doug is protecting his kind of position and name only. And they're pretty much like, Doug, you're putting your job on the line once again, like he did with the Eagles. And it's like, if you don't fix this offense, you're both gone. So there's no way that he's not going to be up in that offensive room figuring out how to fix it.
He better be.
Yeah, I know. Oh, his job
Yeah.
pretty much depends on it because you don't hire Ryan Nielsen, a young guy who could be a head coach, without possibly getting rid of your head coach or a plan to get rid of the head coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot for us to watch in the off season. Again, we'll be back all together. JT, our oldest brother, one of the other Jag Bros will be with us on the podcast. So if you're not already, follow us on any podcast channels. We drop it here on YouTube. We never done YouTube live, so hopefully this works and we'll see how many people watch. Hey, drop in the comments what you liked, what you want us to see or do more of. We may do some of this throughout the off season. But yeah, follow the podcast, connect with us on social media. Our biggest place is Twitter. Joey, you've dropped, some mock draft stuff. You've dropped a big piece on Devon Hamilton that blew up. You can scroll down a little bit on our account and find that. We talked about Josh Allen, how much to pay him. That's got a lot of traction. So connect with us there. And yeah, any final thoughts, Joe? And we'll say goodbye.
Uh, Final thoughts, pay Josh Allen. The quicker, the better,
Yep.
because I do not want to use the tag on him. It sets a
Yes.
bad precedent to the team that when you go out and you perform like you do and you don't get paid, just already with a locker room that doesn't seem to be doing right, that's going to put more turmoil in that locker room. And then also, if you use the tag on Josh Allen, then you can't use it on Calvin Ridley. And then I think if Calvin Ridley tests the market, he won't be here.
Mm.
The Chiefs are going to be desperate for wide receivers. There's so many people desperate for wide receivers, and I don't think Mike Evans or T. Higgins will probably leave their teams. They're going to figure out a way to keep them, and that means that Calvin Ridley would be the top free agent. And once again, we lost Juwan Taylor because someone paid him ridiculous money, the Chiefs, and that could happen with Calvin Ridley. He could get ridiculous money, more than we would ever pay him. And we're like, okay, that's fine. We're not going to pay him 25 million, but we still need him.
Yeah, you
We
need
need
someone to,
someone at least like
we need
him.
a wide receiver one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely tag him. 17 million is pretty much what the wide receiver tag's going for. That's a reasonable price. It's way better than having to tag Josh Allen and ruining this. So get that done. That's my next news that I want to see.
Yep. That's a good final word. Pay Josh Allen. Again, we'll connect with y'all on the podcast. But till then, we close it always this way. Do